Hello everyone and welcome to today's session, Protecting the Cloud Computing Environment with CEP Shield against DDoS Attacks. I am Shilpa and I'll be your host for the day. We would like to go over a few house rules. For our attendees, the session will be in listen-only mode and will last for an hour, out of which last 10 minutes will be dedicated to Q&A. If you have any questions during the webinar, to organizers or our speaker, use the Q&A window. Also, if you face any audio video challenges, please check your internet connection or you may log out and log in again. An important announcement for a certificate of attendance. Participants need to attend the complete webinar to qualify for the certificate. Also, should fill in the survey form, which will be sent in the attendees thank you email and answer correctly the 3 multiple choice questions based on the webinar. The certificate of attendance shall be sent to you within the next 5 to 7 working days after the event. Our speaker for today's session, Venkateshan Pillai. He is Principal Cybersecurity Architect and founder of Way 11 Cybersecurity. He has over 20 years of experience in cybersecurity and information systems. He helps organizations protect their assets against internal and external threats and design successful, cost-effective solutions. His experience spans many verticals in internet security, including threat intelligence research, cloud computing, security metrics, firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention systems, anomaly detection, authentication, encryption, and secure network architecture. Venkateshan has delivered various cybersecurity projects for Fortune 100 enterprises across the United States, Europe, and the Asia Pacific region. He has extensive hands-on experience evaluating different technologies and defining their places in a diverse portfolio of products. He also has a deep understanding of the threats that enterprises face and how to perform a risk assessment based on their vulnerabilities. Venkateshan is a distinguished professor and lecturer who has experience teaching BAT and AAS level cybersecurity courses. Without any further delay, I would hand over the session to you, Venkatesh.
Hey, thank you, Salpa, for the warm welcome. Thank you for inviting me to for this presentation. Hey, I'm Venkateshan Pillai and known by VP. Everyone calls me VP. Basically, today I'll be discussing about the cloud computing. How do we protect the cloud computing using a complex event processing engine to detect the DDoS attack? And we'll have an introduction. We'll also have a problem statement and objective, and what are our existing system and how the proposed system that will mitigate more effectively against those DDoS attacks. And I'll also talk about some implementation and then finally references. This one is a kind of a academic research project that we're trying to develop a system to detect most focusing on the depletion type of attack. As you all know, the cloud computing environment is most popular business model now, right? Especially after the new normal life, after the pandemic, the COVID, and everyone started to working from remote, and companies are migrating to cloud, right? The cloud adaptation was more much faster than the older days, right? Due to the pandemic. So it is easy for attacker, since it goes for the public cloud, as we know that AWS, Azure, Google, all are public cloud, and migrating to the public cloud may be in a little easier or cost effective, but it comes with a certain type of risk, right? So, and then attacker also gaining, utilizing this opportunity to, build new threats, right? Malware and other things. So we are going to talk about one of the things are DDoS. When everyone talk about DDoS, DDoS is not only for a volume-based attack. There are other vulnerability at application layer. We'll also discuss about all 7 layers and how this complex event processing can help detect a much effective, much faster manner. Let's talk about some top cloud threats, actually. Basically, abusing of the cloud computing environment, access authentications, an insecure API, right? Every devices, every cloud technologies and different services from the cloud, right? Whether it could be SaaS, it could be PaaS, or what any services in the cloud, or the software get developed in the cloud environment will have a API interface, right? And everyone connecting to the API. The APIs was misused a lot, or it doesn't. The security was overlooked. So that will be one of the big threat for a cloud perspective. And the malicious insider. When you talk about malicious insider, earlier we need to go to an on-prem to connect or access certain server resource or computing resources, right? The information system administrative access will not be available to people who connect to the VP or from internet, right? You need to be an on-prem, you have a secure data center. But what happened now, people can access those devices from anywhere in any devices, right? That's where the zero trust and other technology put together. Now, how we make sure that an authenticate, I only authorized device can access to the cloud environment. Also, when you talk about the insider, not only that, right? Now the VDA is another solution for that. So we'll talk about a little more detail a little later, and then some of the vulnerability, right? Shared technology vulnerabilities. Even we do a SaaS based, it is a risk with the SaaS provider, right? There is a shared responsibility between the cloud provider as well as the SaaS provider or the organization to using the different cloud services, right? There are some vulnerability that is not mitigated on time because there is another risk associated with that, right? We as a customer is not responsible end to end managing a vulnerability, right? There is an underneath there is an infrastructure layer. So some of the vulnerability could be another top threat. Data loss or data leakage is another great way. Big time in cloud after moving it. People use Office 365, right? All the days we use a traditional Exchange server or Lotus server to have connect all the emails, and then you need to be connecting to that your enterprise endpoint to connect, download the email. So Office 365 adaptation of Office 365 and the cloud-based email system, including Gmail and other things. They have a data loss control, but that control was not implemented appropriately. There are a lot of issues with implementing and detecting alert or which one is a sensitive data, whether it could be PII data, it could be healthcare data. As an employee, that you need to use those infrastructure to access your payroll. At the same time that if somebody accessing entire employee payrolls, then there is a violation, right? So people can download the document, save the document, and failure in implementation of AAA, right? Authentication, authorization, accountability, right? We enable cloud access, and then we forget about disable that access after the use, right? There are a lot of use cases. I don't want to name it. And when they did migrated to Office 365, and the backend interface credential was not even changed, and somehow it got compromised, and it became a news. So another type of threat. And then we'll talk about account service and traffic hijacking, unknown. The list continue to go. These are the top list that we see as a top threat. From a DDoS target, the different sectors, this is a little bit older data. So the companies are targeting IT services, government entities, and cloud service provider and things like that, right? Especially there are a lot of threat intel has come when the Ukraine war, right? So people are targeting to bring down the services or use this DDoS attack to compromise existing information system. So some of the attack in the past listed out. There are a lot of out there, but I didn't have a put together everything. Just for reference, Mirai botnet. Everybody knows that Mirai attack, right? And I teach in a cyber classes, and if you look at it today's small, medium family, people of 4, right? 2 kids and husband and wife. That house connected at least 40-50 devices. So I did a vulnerability scanning on my home network, and it was found out like we were having 45 different IPs, and then we started to count, and then I learned so many things. We have a security camera, all camera connected to my wireless, and we have smart TV. Not only the smart TV, now we have a different wireless streaming devices, such as could be um, Amazon Apple TV or Roku streaming player, Amazon Fire Stick, right? So and then we have a kid. They have a or the school they giving a Chromebook, and the Chromebook has get connected. I have two kid and two kid have two Chromebook, and they also have an iPad and the gaming console, Nintendo's and things like that. It continued to go, right? And then we have a smart door where we have a connected. Then you can punch the number or unlock it in garage door, in refrigerator, washer dryer. The list continue to go. And what happens if you don't secure those one? The attacker try to compromise, use this as a bot, and try to launch a DDoS attack. It's very important that there are billions of devices are connected, internet. It is easy and are not secured, and people using those attacker using those device compromise and launch DDoS attack. So we talked about the problem in details. Yeah. So we talked about problem statement, right? Whether how the cloud environment is exposed, and especially all the right now, if you look about the security camera that you put to your devices, the device is connected to your cloud, right? Where you can log in and monitor, see what's exactly happening, right? And I'm sure everybody have experience. I do have a lot of experience, during my work and my colleague, and they show us, some interesting fun. Sitting in office and logging to their cloud account, whatever the physical security provider, right? They feed or they connect the data to the cloud, and where we can also go and access it. So the cloud is an exposed easily compared to any traditional data center architecture or traditional network, right? So that's a big problem for us now, right? And because the security is always overlooked, right? And sometimes when the business look into that, security is always not a built in, always taking a bolted on, right? So some organizations started to put together security with their hierarchy itself. They try to build in while developing the security itself. A few years back, I did a project for a nuclear power plant, and they have IoT devices that need to be connected to the internet and to monitor the radiant. So that devices has been deployed in somewhere the thing where people cannot go and access it, but that doesn't have the secure protocol. So we had a different solution that we used to protect the devices. It is cost more than the device itself. So that's become a problem, right? And another issue is earlier, if somebody wanted to, if you take a similar use case, if like a pickpocket or robbery, right? If you carry a cash, somebody physically to attack you to take, if you have $1,000, whatever it is, right, your wallet, right? But now attacker no need to be have a physical access. They can access through the cloud. So even if you talk about healthcare, I'm sure everybody go to the hospital, right? And everybody become a EMR, right? Electronic medical record. And all these small providers, dental or a pediatrician, or you go to orthodontist, what happened? They all have a cloud-based solution. They'll be using it. So all the data out there in the cloud, and they can access it. In any consumer application on a cloud, they cannot put up a control or protect that based on the IP, right? You being in a customer, you never know what IP that you will be going access, right? The IP control, IP based restriction will not help, right? You have to access the data. Today you might be in Dallas, and tomorrow maybe in somewhere travel, but you need to download your medical record for something, or you wanted to download your vaccination record for an immigration purpose, or your school admission for your kids' school admission. That you need to go and download, right? You are not carrying forward it. As you just log into that application and download, right? All the endpoint out there in the cloud, and it can be accessible everywhere and everyone. the moment once you are in internet, it become a public, right? The moment you get out from your house and on a street, and there will be plenty of security camera recording it, right? You cannot go and tell them that anybody in the public road can see your action, what you do, what color, what kind of dress that you wear, and being recorded, right? Similarly, when you talk about when you go into internet and public cloud, it is a public. Anyone can see you. So now what we want to do, we wanted to develop the DDoS become used, and now I'm going to discuss about a little bit. It's a very big topic. I'll be discuss few layers actually, and I quickly run through all the 7 layers. Then we'll go from the solution perspective. So our objective is to develop a DDoS detection system with high detection accuracy. There are a lot of technologies, tools in place, and we always wanted to do better, right? How do we detect those attacks very fast? How do we detect more accurately, right? False positive is a very common problem for any organization, right? When you go, we live in an information world where we get so much of information, and those information, looking at that information and using that information in an effective way, it's become a big challenge. So now here, what we wanted to do, how do we detect the quicker with a higher accuracy? That's what it's all about objective. Well, the quicker you detect, and then quicker will be the response, right? Even what you do, that once you know that there is an DDoS coming in, right? It's not a volume based. We'll talk about that more detail. So I have given you that DDoS taxonomy attack here. There are 2 major categories. One is a bandwidth depletion attack, and other one is the resource, right? When you talk about bandwidth, basically taking that your entire bandwidth, the internet bandwidth, or using flooding huge traffic against a target, right? So then other side of it, a resource depletion attack, right? How the protocol can be misused, how the packet can be manipulated, especially it talks about application layer, right? I'll take a few seconds here. Here, we'll talk about application layer attack. In application layer, you know that protocol data, right? Data and payload, right? If you look at any normal IP packet, you have an Ethernet header, and then you have a layer 3 header, which is you have an IP address, whether it could be IPv4 or IPv6, and then you have a TCP or UDP layer 4 header, and then you have maybe if you have a application layer, before that you have maybe TLS, if it is a TLS or SSL. Then we have a application layer header. It could be a HTTP in a use case, right? Or all these are cloud-based applications or browser-based applications, right? That's where that's where your header, right? The message. The layer 7 is responsible to create the packet creation. That's where the packet message, the packet creation will begin. And for example, that's where that you're like protocol FTP, SMTP, or it will be HTTP, right? That's where the layer, it starts with the layer 7, right? And then if you're talking about HTTP, you have it's a request response protocol. You have a header. In that header, you have a get request or post request, HTTP get method or post method, or different method out there, right? So what happens? They use those browser level attack, manipulate the hidden field or send the SQL injection, or also do the man in the middle or any injection type of attack, right? In application, we have the backend, you have a front end application server, you have a backend database server. You use application to send that injection code, right? So that the server can execute those codes. As you all know, the computing is a machine, right? The machine is always going to take instruction from you, execute that. Then we talk about layer 3. In presentation layer also, there is a presentation layer manage the data format. It could be in ASCII, it could be different formatting, data formatting, right? It translates the data format from sender to receiver, right? That's what the presentation layer. In that presentation layer, they use compression and encryption all play into that. This is where you have a SSL, right? The SSL also, there are malformed SSL requests. Inspecting the SSL, decrypting SSL is very resource intensive. I have an interesting implementation or topic for how do we decrypt SSL traffic. If you look at it today, most of the traffic is encrypted. So I did a statistic earlier, used to have a 60 or 70% SSL traffic. Now it become a 99 or 98. Getting SSL certificate is, there are some free SSL certificates. It's not going to cost you. So all these applications or websites become encrypted. When you talk about encryption, it's an end-to-end encryption from your endpoint to your application, right? So how there is an attack against those SSL requests as well. To mitigate SSL, what you have to do? You have to do SSL offloading, origin infrastructure inspecting, and different application delivery platform, and things like that. And then the next layer is a session layer. Here in this presentation, we didn't talk about session layer. I quickly touch upon that. You all know that the protocol it govern establish the session, right, and termination of session, right. That's what it is. That's in the session layer. There is some type of a vulnerability that can exploit. It's specific to the DDoS. And then network transport layer. Transport layer, we all know that it is going to be a TCP or UDP. TCP, when you talk about sync flood or smurf attack and other things, I will talk more detail in transport layer. And then we have a network layer, right? Network layer is talk about ICMP flooding, and it is whether it could be IPv4 or IPv6, and misusing those ICMP and sending a ping update, and different type of attack will go through that little later. And then data link layer, it's not here, but the data link layer, we talk about layer 2, right? Or physical address, the MAC address, right? The frame, right? There is a attack in the layer 2 as well. We can do a MAC flooding, right? You can continuously send the spoof to MAC address, or you can do flood and bring your switching network, right? The main function of data layer is a switching, right? And then physical layer. Physical layer is basically your Ethernet or fiber optic or cable, right? The bits and bytes, right? There will be we can make attack against the physical devices that will become unavailable, and there are multiple other things. We talk about EMIs and noise and other stuff. So here we already talked about it because I put it all the description here. I will not be going through that. We already talked about due to time constraint. We discussed about all the 7 layers related to DDoS. Okay, there are multiple different attacks that research focus is only detect a vulnerability against DDoS or DOS attack. Here we smurf attack, ICMP echo request, and then DNS attack, BGP, prefix hijacking, port scanning. It's a port scanning is an active, and people started to scan your network the moment you are in, and they are trying to scan all the open port or not to identify any backdoor and things like that, right? And you are even a lot of security vendor offering a services. Honest services that they look at all the internet traffic, and they come up with like a SODAN, right? If we talk about SODAN, right? SODAN learn it. Likewise, there are vendors trying to profiling all your traffic pattern, right? Public anybody can capture, right? Tomorrow we can spin up and see what traffic, what going on specific, right? That becoming a services now. Cookie poisoning, reused IP, hidden file manipulation, SQL injection, man in the middle. These are some of the general category attacks. Will not go through detail. The list continue to go, right? There are hundreds of different attack types that we can discuss, or we can wait. Here, the IP spoofing is another technique. All the time they do that. And then sync flood attacking on a TCP. We know the 3-way handshake on the transport layer protocol. Basically, you have a sync request, sync ACK, and ACK request, and we continuously send a sync request. Your server or your destination will open up a session, wait for it in particular time, right? And the server will not be available, right, for a legitimate user. The smart attack is another use case. Like they spoofed the IP packet, they sent large request and all to different servers. And then what happened? The victim will receive the response. It become non-responsible, right? Think of that, and you can increase your ICMP packet size and send it to the server. Server will get crashed. Planned attack. You have a spoof IP source and destination will be the same. It gets looped. So these are some existing system. How do we detect each type of attack? Or if it is IP spoofing, you can do the hop count filtering or trust-based sync catch in pass. So these are the existing system. And then sync flooding, right? If you have any your own edge devices, edge security devices, it could be intrusion detection system, or nowadays it's a next gen firewall comes with an IPS, right? So they also do a deep packet inspection, right? There are different technology. I don't want to use any specific vendor name. Basically, they have a advanced their hardware platform detection capability when the packet arrives, and they're almost doing on the wire, right? Or sometimes it's a near real time, right? And then buffer overflow, ping off land, tear down, and also. So now let's talk about. We talked about what is cloud, and we talked about the different problem and different threads, and we discussed about the how 7 layers and different type of DDoS attacks. So how each layer can be, vulnerable against this particular DDoS, right? And now what we did, there is something called a complex event processing, right? There is a CEP engine. It's basically event processing method. What it does, it combines information from multiple sources, understand the event or pattern. So you put a system, when there is a traffic hit in, and then the complex event process event gets generated, and then the CEP engine will start learn about different sources, right? The event or the pattern. So in network system, the event correlation technique is to analyze the huge event and detect the attack within the event pattern. Okay, these all happen in real time, much faster manner. And CEP engine was used in many places. Like I work with another organization. They use a CEP engine. Jesper has a CEP engine, and even the e-com platform, and even one of the security vendor, the technology that I use, they use a CEP engine they take all the traffic and feed through the CEP and then recreate a meta to detect attack and other things. It's a SIM tool, next gen SIM tool. CEP also can link low level event with a low signification to higher level event with criticality. So we can also mark how critical it is. And it is also aggregation of multiple simple event to complex event. So here is we have a system process of sensor. Will get that all the event. It send it to the CEP engine, and then we have a query against that engine CEP query, and then we get an output. Say for example, your IP, it's basically meta, right? The source IP, destination IP, and we also look into all the header, right? We collect packet count, threshold, window time, and things like that. So any system we deploy, we build on a CEP engine. We collect or have an interface with all your existing system, like data, right? If you talk about IPS or IDS, or it can be inline, or it can also be in a passive mode where we can connect through the API, or where we can inject the data, all the event to the CEP engine. Application, the CEP existing, they use monitoring and security, inventory tracking, financial trading, fraud detection, all existing usage of the CEP. So proposed system that we'll be talking about, all the event sources will be sent to the event processing, and you have a event tracking and event detection and prediction analysis. and then we have a graphical user interface that's where your admin or people can log in and look into alert and things like the metrics and all the stuff. So all these will be stored in a database for a statistical data or event pattern. That is called the knowledge base. We continue to build the knowledge base, and then we'll have an interface. That interface, that's where we, as an admin, we can log in and look at all the events and things. And we can also automate for the remediation. We don't need to wait for. We don't need to even wait for any prediction or or manual intervention to go and create a rule, right? We can automate. Hey, if you see this pattern or there is an attack coming in. One interesting fact in the DDoS is basically this technology that CEP will help most in the resource depletion attack, right? The attacker tried to send some use that vulnerability to exploit using DDoS. There will be a different motive. We are familiar with the cybercriminals, right? Every attacker, every attack has an objective, right? Whether it could be a financial fraud or it could be bringing a damage to an organization or reputation, whatever you name it, right? So what I find that the CEP engine can quickly detect this header or this vulnerability on the wire, detect because we have a query, we can build it and make block it. And we in a prediction analysis, there is a program that we can also apply AI method or machine learning method to do some statistical, because we do collect all the event, right? All the system or information processed through CEP. You can also recreate the meta and create a database, right? You can rewrite all the data to put a common, right? So for example, you have a number of information system, right? It could be a database, it could be your application, web server, or your different like proxy server. Or we have a huge amount of data, right? So mostly we'll start with the with the edge system, where you have deploy all the traffic from after the firewall, when the traffic through the firewall and we pass into CEP engine, where we can identify any resource based or layer 7 DDoS attack. The one thing that attackers trying to do here is, for example, you have a web application, there is an ISS server or Apache server or open source, there is a vulnerability, and attacker tries to specially craft the packet or HTTP header, they abuse send it or person. So what happens in the existing system, there will be one alert that the attacker will gain a control of the applications. You think that there is a DDoS or multiple traffic, you block it, you may don't analyze a particular period of time. In last 5 minutes, we see 1,000 alerts. So what we are going to do, we are going to, it is DDoS attack, we are going to ignore it, right? We can filter it and clear it to all the alerts. Because there is no way that you are going to look into each and every alert, right? So the attacker was smart enough to send one malicious packet, and we think that it is an DDoS attack, but the attacker has able to already compromise or deployed, because this alert has been overlooked or has not been analyzed. We have a cloud data set, and I used some of the, even one of the security vendors provide us a huge number of cloud data set actually. We setting up a virtual machine. We also did a lot of open source tool to send the flooding, and we built the DDoS system. There was a lab environment that I set up it, but I don't have access to that. Maybe probably little later I can also post a record and demonstrate and compare with the existing system detection and the CEP engine. So we have a DDoS detection technique in the engine, and what it does is we feed all the data to the CEP engine and classify the attack, and we also differentiate what is the legitimate sources as well. Once we detect them, there is a response, right? And then we tell that what need to, whether it be blocked immediately or response to the later on, whatever it is, right, based on the criticality. So that's a DDoS response. Implementation, we use OpenStack Cloud and Esper engine, and machine learning and algorithm is the next phase. Actually, we did not try it out, and I have already have some sponsor who has an AI specialist, and they have 90 plus engineer their product, and we are going to test use of machine learning as well. Some of the metrics that we did, how much is the CPU or memory utilization, and the bandwidth and the response time and availability of system. So this is a performance metrics that everybody look at it, right? Okay, you can build a system very powerful. How much it's going to take a memory? How big system that you need, right? And that's very important. Another one is we talked about how we can leverage the learning algorithm. There is no work has done in terms of AI and machine learning. I'm in the process of learning or trying to acquire more knowledge on machine learning and AI. And we have some students are specialized in that, and probably will put a team and try to implement or use some use case. And our existing partnership or the sponsor who ready to help us provide some kind of AI pre-built environment, and they also can give us some resource that we can apply, integrate this into existing CEP and the machine learning. Some of the reference that you can take the materials are used from I have listed out it. One is I'm also going to post it. There is a small document. It's a very useful. It explained all the DDoS, which is developed by I think NIST guidelines. It's like let me tell you, DDoS quick guide from Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. The CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, they put a DDoS quick guide. There they explained detailed about, not the detailed, it is a very quick summary. It's a quick summary. They put it all, each layer that we talked about it, right? Then corresponding protocols and corresponding impact and then mitigation techniques. They also talked about how the HTTP header and HTTP post-flood, post-request in each method. And then they talked about get and get request, get method, UDP flood, as ICMP flood, NAP flood. So it's a very interesting document, and it is not a very lengthy document. Anybody can read it, with a limited time, like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It gives you an overall executive summary on a quick guide about the DDoS. With that, I have a lot of other things to talk, but with that, I'll stop it. We have 15 more minutes or 20 more minutes for a question and answer. Shilpa, do you want to? How do I do that?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Venkateshan, for an informative session, and our attendees share the same sentiments. If you're interested to learn more about our programs, do let us know in the poll that's going to be conducted now. Let us know your preferred mode of training, and we will reach out to you.
Hey, one thing is I work. If you're in Dallas, I'm a professor at Colleen College, Colleen Community College, based in Colleen Community, Dallas. We have a very exciting cybersecurity program. We are partner with the EC Council. So we have a 4-year cyber program, and we teach almost in fact we are the only early institute with NAE. Our program has been NAE credential, the cyber program. So we have a different offer. One thing that I forgot to say is we have a course called cyber psychology, right? We are the very early institute, or very few institute that talk about our student on psychology. The psychology is very important. So we have a unique program designed, even incident response. We have a digital forensic. We have a complete program that aligned with industrial, right? Even we talk about application security, mobile technology, and then we also teach cloud. Hey, thank you. And if any question, please let us know. Thank you so far.
Yes. Shall we start with the Q&A, Venkateshan?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Our first question is by Amruta. What is Google hacking in application level attacks?
Um, Google hacking, there is a, um, it's a very simple. I don't know whether she wanted to know what is Google hacking or application attack. They have a database, right? A Google hacking database, and we can use and it. They also have all the um, vulnerabilities exploit database they have. Um, you can go and download those exploit, and you can also look at the DDoS or Google has a search. And I don't know what exactly she's looking for. When you talk about application level, yeah, there is a multiple attack. Anything specific she's asking about? Can you ask her to unmute and talk, Silva? Little more detail about.
Venkatesh, actually, we don't have that option, that they can speak. They can just pose the questions to us. I think if she is hearing us, she can pose the question back again in detail. Till then, we can take a second question by Manoj. He is asking for some examples of Sybil attack. Can you give some
What is that?
example of Sybil attack? Sybil attack. Some examples of
Oh,
Sybil attack.
uh, I couldn't recall anything about Fidel attack. Um, yeah, I will have to check it out. I don't recall anything. Can you move on to the next question?
Yeah, we can take it offline next. Yeah, I'll move to the next question. What would be the positive impact of CEP on cloud environments in the long run?
What is the last part? Logarithm, right?
Long run, long
Long
run.
run. CEP
Yeah,
is sort of a complex event processing, right? So, yeah, already a lot of people are. It is commercially used in a lot of application being used to CEP, right? People and there are a lot of security in there using leveraging a CEP in other industry as well. So it's a very interesting technology, complex event processing. It's almost it continue to grow, continue to be there, and till we find or any alternative or whatever it is. It's currently being used. I don't want to specifically quote a few vendors because there will be multiple people. I personally work with a technology or security tool. They use a CEP. And I also work with another organization and who wanted to help us. They use a CEP technology on the AIP and other things. When they do inject the data, they use a CEP engine. It has a bright future and it continue to be used actually.
thank you, Venkateshan, for answering that question. Our next question is, what are the necessary framework to guide one to professionalize in cyber attack for someone that is from a non-ICT background?
Yeah, if it is there are in cyber there are two programs, right? One is offensive or defensive, right? As we live in the information world, there are a lot of way that you can start, right? First, you need to have a basic understanding. Cyber, it's all about information system, right? How your computing works and how networking works, how the packet is crafted and how the packet moving on, right? Once you know the basic of all the system functionality, and then you can also do some research on vulnerability, right? In today's people, Patch Tuesday. Every Tuesday is the second Tuesday is the Patch Tuesday. There is a huge number of vulnerability being released on the day. It's like hundreds of vulnerability being released every month, and almost all the software vendor also follow, right? So if you are an offensive system, you are an offensive side of it. You do develop ethical hacking. There is a lot of open source. We use Metasploit. You can also use a Kali framework. Start learn about do some pen testing. And you also have a blue team or the detection, the defense, cyber defense services, where you use how attacker use it. So you have to decide which one you are wanted, offensive side or defensive side. Offensive side, basically to you have to build your own tool, or you can use Python or whatever, right? Start learn about it, and then start how you can apply, how can you can start coding to create, right? The malware is a piece of software, right? Everything is a software, right? Somebody writing a code, and if it is written in a malicious intent, it is called a malware, right? Or if it is written in to solve any business problem, it can be an application, right? So you can look into which area, offensive or defensive, and start learn basic, have a strong understanding on your computing environment, what exactly happening operating system. Now we are doing a serverless or VMware, right? How we how the hardware resources and things like that. Then you can get into little deeper into the cyberspace. Yeah, next question.
Thank you for answering that question. Next question is by Ratnarasa. Is there any specific tools to detect DDoS attacks?
See, in cyber, there is something not called one specific kind of way. It's a combination of tools. Yes, there are a lot of tools, right? We have a lot of commercial tool out there and a lot of open source tool also out there, right? So your all the intrusion detection system, in the case of Snort or there's Cisco or Palo Alto or Fortinet or any venture vendor, right? They also have a capability to detect. And there are some volume-based attacks. There are some cloud provider, and they use a SIM hole and DNS hole. There are so many technical things. There is nothing one. There will be a multiple tools and technology. So one is the easiest way to, I would say, that you have any existing, say whether you want to build an open system or commercial system, right? The open system doesn't have a support. It is a community based. And if you are using an open source intrusion detection is like, Snort, right? Snort engine. You can also use those, to detect. Or you can, any commercial vendor that you have a tool, and they have also to detect some of the resource depression. So this CEP engine, what we are trying to do, trying to use the CEP engine to detect, right, and prove more accuracy, the quicker, and that is what it is. Or you have a DOS provider, you can also send a Cloudflare. There are so many vendors out there, right? Now you can send the traffic to even your content CDN network also offer the DDoS. They filter all the DDoS and things like that. There are plenty of tools and been used to detect, whether it could be open source or commercial.
Thank you, Venkatesh. Yeah. I'll take last two questions for the day. Our next question is how cloud can maintain its availability and resilience after DDoS attack.
Yeah, that's where cloud is become a target, right? Everybody, whether you like it or you don't like it, it's a cloud, right? Maybe this webinar is in through cloud, right? Your Zoom, WebEx, or your healthcare, everybody using a cloud, right? Cloud is the most vulnerable to kind of thing. So what we have to do, you have to work with the cloud. When you talk about cloud, public cloud, there is a responsibility, right? As a consumer or a customer, you have certain responsibility depends upon your service. So you have to put design a system based on your responsibility to protect your cloud or ensure the privacy has been taken care. So it is going to be what's that question? The second part of question. Silsa, can you read again the question?
Yeah, how cloud can maintain its availability and resilience after DDoS attack?
Yeah, that's why you have a high in security CIA, right? Confidentiality, integrity, availability. Yeah, one of the main thing is availability. The DDoS attack more focus in the principle of availability, right? That's where you have to build your system. The cloud is the beauty of the cloud is you can also have another redundant system, right? Scalability, resilience is easier, much faster in the cloud, and compared to your traditional data center network, right? So and you have to design a system, right? Depends upon the business impact, right? Do you really, is it, for example, you have a very e-com platform, right? That need to be available all the time. So depends upon the application. You just build your high availability solution, which is offered through the cloud. So you can also have a multi-cloud environment where you can have different services running across multiple regions. So if the one attack happen, then the other attack will be there. So there are two types. Again, always look into from a DDoS perspective or availability. One is resource targeting specific application or targeting specific resources. And another one is the volume based, right? Volume based attack that you need to work with a cloud provider. All the traffic will be routed to the DDoS handler. Depends on the bandwidth. Almost all the service provider have offering a different services. I was working for a customer, and we had a cloud protection service from the our MPLS provider. And what they did, they do if the comes large volume based attack comes in, they will send to the SIN hole, they filter it, and they will give us time. So it's all about when availability comes in. When availability is basically depends upon the business critical application. So is it application need 100% availability, or it can be 90%, right? What is your SLA? Then you design a system. You define put a control against that. And for example, you have e-com applications. A large e-com application have millions of users purchasing it. If you are using a small shop, or you are sending an online shop, and your transaction itself like $1,000 a day or $2,000 a day, how much you are going to invest to build your high availability system, right? So the business versus the value, everything is cost. So the cloud give a flexibility. Cloud, you can also do a backup and build it down, or you can also have a multi-cloud environment, or you can host in multi-region. There is when you build a system or application, cloud provider also provide high available option. So you can adapt. See, always one thing we need to know is that always the system is secure when the system is powered off, right? The system is shut down, right? But we need the system to be up and running. The services should be available, right? So not all related to business. How much is going to cost you? What is my business application? What type of data that I'm going to host or hold it? You determine the business value. Then you determine a high availability. And it is easy in establishing in a cloud, because spinning up a server from a different region or different provider is not going to cost you. And also you design a system whether you want to do active or passive, right? Things like that. Or you want to handle the volume based or resource depletion. A web application firewall is another technique to do that. There are multiple. It's part of your design questions, and cloud has become much easier compared to your traditional data center. Okay. Thank you. Next question.
Yeah, thank you, Venkateshan, for answering this question. Our last question is how to select the best tool to mitigate risk from the many out there in the market.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. I do. That is what I do, right? That is what your experience comes in, right? How are we going to when you purchase when you walk into the car showroom, right? What they ask you, right? Even Toyota or Honda or any leading provider, right? So what type of when it goes into the last part performance, right? You want that, right? You want like a sedan. They determine based on your requirement. You want luxury, or you want this. They'll ask multiple questions, right? And then they will come up with a model. Okay, this will be a right question, right? It's a good example is whenever you do a car purchasing, actually, especially in North America or anywhere, right? Yes, there are multiple tools. What you need to do, you need to do an evaluation, right? Is this a vendor, right? You have to do an assessment on what is your business. You need to write about your problem, right? I used to tell vendor, someone was so always, right? They talk about, hey, this is nice to have. So I used to give an example. For example, you wanted to find A to point B in one office to another office, which is the speed limit is a 45 or 40 miles, and you are going to use only internal road. And you don't need a higher end car, the sports car, $1 million car, because you cannot even go speed limit is 45 miles, and by the time the purpose is different. And what are you going to do with the sports car, Indian car? No, you cannot go. It has the capability of 180 per mile or within 3 seconds. You cannot use those cars in this road. Your requirement is basically to go to point A to A B, and you have it's an internal road. The maximum speed limit is 45 miles per hour, right? So where identify what is your business and what are the risks. You start with the risk assessment. What are the cyber risks that you are dealing with that, and address related to that cyber risk. For example, you're not doing it you're in healthcare. You're focused on healthcare. There is a wall of shame, right? And how do you protect that your patient record? It has a PIA data, PHA data, many things come into there. And if you're taking a payment and then PCA, right? So you need to see the vendor, the tool or technology, their references, customer implementation, also their how much they do R&D, right? And I've seen everybody. Today's another problem is every year more than 1,000 or 1,500 new cyber tools being in the market because it's easy to develop. So you have to go and ask several questions to qualify that vendor that tool is the right tool for you. So have them. You start with that. There are plenty of sources that you can do that. For example, you want to do a data loss prevention, right? What the data loss prevention? Everybody says that I can control all complaints data. If you are in healthcare, you look at how much healthcare knowledge they have, how they are detecting healthcare data. They have access? They can protect in the structured database or unstructured data. When you talk about, or do they have a coverage? What type of database environment that you use, whether SQL or Oracle or SharePoint. So you look into all your technology. You work with the business. What is your future? And then select a vendor who has who can support, and how their support model, right? How their R&D model, how much research they've done, and how much they contributed, right? You look at a profile. It's all together a big framework, and sometimes it comes with an experience. And I can provide a complete. I build a complete framework on evaluating. Myself, have been evaluated more than 800 different cyber technology or tools. We talk about EDR, you talk about data security, you talk about application security, and we do have it. And you can connect with me offline to have a more conversation about it. It's another 1 hour big topic that we can give a framework on how do we choose cyber vendor or tools. How do you pick it up? It's a big thing. I'll also be presenting the cybersecurity one-on-one on for a small startup. How do they look into cybersecurity? I think with that I'll stop it. It's 1 minute, 11:30 now. Shilpa?
Yeah, thank you so much, Venkatesan. Thank you again to our wonderful speaker, Venkatesan, for answering those questions and for the great presentation and the knowledge shared with our global audiences. It was a pleasure to have you with us, and we are looking for more and more sessions with you. Before we conclude the webinar, Venkatesan, would you like to give a small message to our audiences?
Small?
A small message to our audiences?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for, first I want to thank you, EC Council, for an opportunity. I've been associated with EC Council for a long time. I also worked with help developing content for CEH. There is a working group, I forgot it, and a lot of things. And we teach cyber. One of the interesting factor with we have various certification program. Also, I wanted to, I'm not sure what type of audience we have in that student. Cyber, something that I started to say myself as a practitioner. 17, 18 years I've been practicing cyber, and there are a lot of demand in the cyber, and we don't have a right skill. So what do you want to do? Practice cyber and learn more technology, latest technology and threats, and be all responsible. Another message that I wanted to quote, and then I'll conclude it. And we are part of community, right? And we say, somebody says that I'm for example, when I go to my class and I tell the student how important role they are playing within the community, right? Say, for example, you are a cyber, learn a cyber, and you are going to work for a bank. And the bank who is going to hold the data, if you don't protect or if you don't do it the right way, and then my account information can be compromised. Maybe your colleague, and then innocent people are victim people, right? Cyber has a more responsibility, more ethics, and we are, I would say that we all called warrior or for protecting against someone's privacy, right? We don't want information to be leaked. If leaked, and then it will be misused. Identity theft, or the credit card theft, so many other things. So as we are part of community, and the cyber service is very key, and the impact is huge. With that, thank you for listening and thank you for joining with us. And I enjoyed talking with you and looking forward to more talks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Venkateshan, for the message to our audiences. Now, before we end the session, I would like to announce our next Cyber Talk session, Why Cloud Security is Essential for Organizations, which is scheduled for August 29, 2022. This session is an expert presentation by Senthil Velatham, Senior Solutions Architect at DRUA. To register for this session, please do go visit our website www.eccu.edu/cybertalk. The link is given in the chat section. Hope to see you all on August 29. With this, we end our session. You may now disconnect your lines. Thank you. Thank you so much, Venkateshan.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.